All right, everybody, that song ended right at the perfect time. It was totally intentional. No, anyway, so Nikki Burnett here, Taste Life Nutrition. We are going to do a webinar today talking about fertility. This is something that I see in practice a lot, where we are having both men and women dealing with some issues, you know, whether they have been trying for a few months or trying for several years, or in the sad case of even losing once they become pregnant. So we want to talk about the things that we can do, you know, whether it's, you know, nutrition, stress, lifestyle, exercise. There are lots and lots of factors that go into whether or not we can get pregnant, carry it to term, and then have a healthy little munchkin that is healthy throughout life. And we want to remember that, because the one thing that I really want to impart on my clients when I talk to them about getting pregnant, having a family, is that we get to be in such a hurry. You know, we start to hear the clock ticking and things like that. And what I hope to help people understand is, let's take a step back, because the healthier we are, the healthier that baby's going to be, and the healthier their life can be. Because you've heard me talk a little bit in the past about epigenetics, and epigenetics, you know, and if you've seen my tagline, it says we have the ability to control our genetic destiny, and we do. But those epigenetics, once they're turned on, if it's in a negative way, they can be passed down from generation to generation. And so we want to have our own healthy epigenome, so we pass that down. So, you know, let's take a step back. Let's get ourselves healthy. Let's get our partner healthy. Let's make sure that we're giving everything that we can to our body to be able to build a good, healthy baby and a good, healthy adult. So let's just jump on in. So you know, I'm trying something a little bit new, which is this speaker to hopefully other, you know, noises that are outside of my control you don't hear. If you can't hear me, or if you have questions, if there's anything that you need, go ahead and just post them. I have my Q&A up and I can look at it, or tell me if you can't hear me, because I will take this and I will send it out to everybody who's involved in this webinar, and I want to make sure that you can hear it. There are going to be some things inside of this that you're going to want to access for their websites and recipes and things like that. So just let me know if you can't hear me. All right, so let's move on. So infertility, according to the Women's Health, the Office of Women's Health, this is the definition, not being able to get pregnant within 1 year of trying, or within 6 months of trying in women over 35. And also those who are infertile are those who have not been able to stay pregnant. There are lots of reasons for this, but you know, the factors that go into making sure that we're carrying or holding on to a pregnancy is, first, of course, this is really basic science. You go back to, you know, 5th grade. But a woman's body must release an egg from one of her ovaries. The egg must go through the fallopian tube toward the uterus. A man's sperm must join with the egg along the way. And the fertilized egg must attach inside of the uterus. And if there are any problems with any part of this, then then, you know, we have a problem with getting pregnant. Okay, so I find this to be an interesting stat, and I kind of giggle at it a little bit, because it's from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, and the stat is nearly 12% of women in the United States ages 15 to 44 will experience difficulty getting pregnant or carrying pregnancy to term. I find 15 young, but that's the stat. So it's an important set. I just find 15 to be an interesting age that they chose. But so there are two types of infertility. We've got primary infertility, and then we've got secondary infertility. And primary infertility is the inability to get pregnant or stay pregnant despite having unprotected sex for a year or longer. Secondary infertility is the inability to get or stay pregnant to term after the birth of one or more children. So let's talk about some causes of infertility. And, you know, I think there are probably, you know, there are a whole lot of things that can create imbalances in the body. But what's creating those imbalances besides, you know, our genetics and our epigenome? There are things like pelvic inflammatory disease, endometriosis, environmental and occupational factors. We've got inadequate diet and exercise, and I would throw in there too much exercise. So we have, you know, living here in Colorado, we have people that really, I think, overdo it a bit. And so that you know, got to push. And we have people that, you know, run the 50 or 150 miles in the mountains at, you know, 14,000 feet. Not my thing. But that is some serious stress on the body. It's very inflammatory. And, you know, we think about lots of our, you know, elite athletes having problems with whether it's getting pregnant or with autoimmune conditions. And it's that intense overload, intense stress, intense inflammation that happens when we get too much exercise. So think about that. So other things, stress. Stress is a big deal. Toxic effects related to alcohol and smoking, and of course, age, unfortunately, is a factor, but it is. So we're going to look at some of these causes for infertility. We're going to discuss some of the changes that we can make, and we're going to dig in a little bit. This will probably run, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour or so, but I want to give as much good information in here as I can that's not just basic stuff. And so let's start with diet. All right. Okay. So, oops, sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so obviously, if you know me at all, you know I'm a nutritionist, and food is a key factor in everything that we do. Literally, my company is named Taste Life truly because food is what gives us life. Food, if you know me at all, you've heard me say it before, food is what tells our body what to do. The nutrients within, once it's broken down, as long as it's broken down properly, feeds the body. It doesn't only just feed the body, but it actually tells our body what to do. It's the direction, tells our body this is how it needs to happen. These are how cells need to act, and it tells our genome and our epigenome what to do. Food is incredibly important. And so if we are eating food that is organic, that is clean and whole, then this line of communication to our cells and to our DNA is very clean and it's very clear, and the body knows what to do. Now, so I'm going to turn my phone off. If we are eating highly processed foods, chemical-laden, fast food, that kind of stuff, it sends a very broken, unclean message to our cells and to our DNA, and then it becomes confused. Our body becomes confused. So over time, what happens, our cells send out what's called a cell danger response. And so the way that we want to look at this really is it's our bodies trying to talk to us. Our bodies are giving us information, and we've forgotten how to listen. We don't know how to listen to that pain or to that ache, or the fact that we're not able to get pregnant, or the foggy brain, or the too much hunger or not enough hunger. All of these signs are symptoms, and it's a response, and it's our body trying to tell us something. And so if we pay attention, then we can start to dig. And you might need a little bit of help. I mean, it's my job to dig for you or for my clients so we can figure out what it is the body is trying to tell us. But understand that we can't blame symptoms and disease and pains and aches and these things on age or genetics or bad luck, because so much of this is our control. We can control how much exercise we get, how much we eat, what we eat. It's hard to control our environmental toxins, but we know if we are heavy and if we have a heavy load of environmental toxins, there are ways that we can get rid of them. So let's listen to our bodies. Let's understand. Find somebody that can help you understand, that's going to do the functional testing, and move you in a direction to get you clean and healthy. But food is the first thing. So even if you don't eat organic food, knowing where you're getting your food from. If you know a farm where they practice organic practices, organic farming, you know, it's such a shame to me that organic food is in some cases, and it's starting to come down, but it's more expensive and it's heartbreaking. But it can be true. So if we know where our food's coming from and understand, you know, how it's being farmed, we don't have to have that expensive organic, you know, FDA certified sticker. We just, you know, we're just eating clean food. Let's grow our own food. Not always easy here in Colorado, but we have a short time where we can grow some food. But, you know, the shorter the distances that where you're getting your food, the better off we are. So good, healthy, clean, organic food. Another thing about pesticides and herbicides that we need to understand is they are hormone disruptors. Now, if you, whether you are a man or a woman and you are dealing with some infertility issues, you need to keep in mind that if you're not eating organic, you are taking in hormones and herbicides and pesticides, and they are hormone disruptors. They are intense hormone disruptors. So what does that mean? They're called xenoestrogens. Xenoestrogens are chemicals that the body somehow sees as an estrogen, so it goes and they actually will bind to estrogen receptor sites. So then our own natural estrogens don't have the ability to do their job. So we have all of this excess estrogen running around. Then we may not even have the ability to detoxify it very well due to certain epigenetic factors. And then we have estrogen levels going up and up and up. And in some cases, this can damage DNA. So this is an important note for whether you're trying to get pregnant, whether you are young, old, male, female, it makes no difference. These are intense, potent chemicals. Besides just being chemicals and you know, gunking up the body, they will mess up your hormone levels. I see it all the time. And so when I test hormones, I can see it. I can also see environmental toxicities with the lab testing that I do. So that's the beautiful thing about doing labs, is they all work together so well to really put together a pretty picture of what's going on, and then how, of course, we want to handle that. So another thing we want to think about is wild-caught fish. But we want to be really aware of the type of fish that we're eating. Those omega-3s are really, really important, but we don't, you know, and it's unfortunate, but our oceans are just littered with toxins. So there are 5 fish that that at this point we consider safe, mostly because they're smaller fish. They don't hold on to toxins, but they're safer. They have less heavy metals, and they are high in omega-3s. So omega-3 is important for cellular health, for brain health, particularly DHA. If we do get pregnant and we want to build that brain, DHA is really, really important for baby. So think smash. So sardines, mackerel, have to think about it, anchovies, sardines, salmon, and then herring. Okay, so smash. Those are the 5 fish that are going to be the best for you, high in omega-3s, low in toxins, that you want to have in your diet, you know, pretty regularly. You can always, of course, take supplementation, which is important. We'll get into supplementation here a little bit later, but right now we're just talking about foods. So think about the quality of the fish, the quality of the omega-3. On top of that, what it's showing is omega-3s can help regulate ovulation. They can improve egg quality. It can also delay aging of ovaries. So all of those are really important for our moms who are trying to get pregnant. Vitamin E rich foods, super important for proper functioning of the endocrine system. So vitamin E is a fat soluble nutrient. So you have vitamin A, D, E, and K, all fat soluble nutrients. Low fat diets are not a good idea. Okay, now, doesn't mean that you should have a high fat, because depending on your genetics, you might want to have a little bit higher, might want to have moderate. That's what we look at to understand who you are and what your macronutrient need is. But we have to have fat in our diet. It needs to be good, healthy fat. And if we don't have fat, then we're not utilizing these fat-soluble vitamins. All very important for hormone production. Fats and really important for hormone production. So, good fats. Coconut and olive. Do not cook with olive oil. You can cook with avocado oil. For those who can handle dairy, good pastured butter and ghee are a good idea. You can do those. So those are some good healthy fats for you to get started. But remember, pastured or even raw, okay? I don't want to get too deep into dairy right now because this isn't a dairy discussion, but a lot of people can't do dairy. And it can create more inflammation. Even if it's a healthy dairy, it has the potential, depending on your health status, has the potential of creating more inflammation. So again, being aware of your body and who you are and understanding through labs is so important and gives me so much guidance when I'm trying to work with someone. Okay, so foods rich in folate. I'm going to say this again very slowly. Folate, not folic acid. So this is not a supplement discussion yet. Give me a few minutes. But I want to be very clear that we are not looking for folic acid. We're looking for folate. So the things, so folate is a B vitamin. It's an important B vitamin. It's really important for pregnancy. It's important for development of baby. And so we can get good folate from spinach, good leafy greens, great vegetables. B vitamins are water soluble, so you can get them a lot in good healthy vegetables, whereas fat soluble vitamins you're going to get from animal products for the most part. Not entirely, but for the most part. Okay, moving on to things like broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Some of my very favorite things. I love them so much. They're cruciferous vegetables. Why are they important besides the fact that they have lots of amazing nutrients in them to feed our body and tell our cells and our DNA what to do? They have in them what's called DIM. I shouldn't try to say it. Diindolmethane, something like that. It doesn't matter, but it's DIM, okay, DIM. So it's an acronym. So if you're looking for this, it's an acronym. Really important for liver detoxification, for phase 1 liver detoxification, okay? So we have 2 phases, actually 3 phases of liver detoxification, but which one can be upregulated and one can be downregulated, and that's not a good thing. We want it to be, work together symbiotically. Anyway, we want it to work together. But there are certain things that work on phase 1 and certain things that work on phase 2. And so DIM works on phase 1 and helps to remove estrogens out of the liver, okay? So again, if we have too much estrogen, I see lots of clients that are dealing with things like PMDD, my brain is not working today, but severe PMS. And a lot of it's due to these high amounts of estrogens. Okay, let's see. Something that I wanted to hit on is there's a test that I do. It's called Dutch test. It's a hormone test. It's a dried urine test. Great for understanding where our hormones are for liver detoxification. Kind of gives an overview of how phase 1 and phase 2 look like. Now, if I'm working with someone specifically on fertility, which of course we're talking about here, I want to do a dried urine, but I also want to see blood hormones. So both are really important for us to get a complete picture. But I love this Dutch test because it can give us a lot of good information about stress levels, cortisol, all of our male and female hormones, which we all have, and sleep patterns. It can give some neurotransmitter information, oxidative stress. It's an amazing, amazing lab. But this is a really important one if we are looking into getting you pregnant. Okay, foods to avoid. We all know this. I mean, seriously, we know that these are not things that are healthy, especially when we're eating them out. Eating out, we don't know what's in the food. There are some places that are getting better about trusting, what they're putting in their food, but it's still really, really difficult. So the more you eat in, which is sad, I love to eat out, but the more you eat in, especially if you have a goal in mind, whether it's weight loss, getting pregnant, getting healthy if you have an autoimmune disease, it's just easier and safer to eat in, cook for yourself, know what you're eating, or have a couple of places that you're comfortable with that are that have good quality products and that are not feeding you vegetable oils and things like that. So really important to stay away from processed meats. A number of reasons. Processed meats oftentimes contain what's called nitrates and nitrites, and you've probably heard of this. This is not a problem when it's cold, but when the meat or whatever the product is, so you'll see it in bacon and sausages and deli meats, things like that, it's a preservative. When it's heated, obviously we always heat bacon, but when it's heated, what happens is those nitrates and nitrites are converted into nitrosamines. So this is an incredibly carcinogenic byproduct of nitrates and nitrites. So we want to stay as far away from that as we can. If you're going to buy meat, I love bacon. Bacon's fine if it's a good, healthy animal raised on pasture and not loaded with nitrates and nitrites. It's fine. Okay, keep the fat. Use the fat for cooking, but it has to be a healthy animal and has to have minimal ingredients and minimal processing. Okay, another thing about what can happen if we're eating conventional meats is conventional meat are meats that are, they're not grass-fed, so they're put into the feedlots or they're chickens that are in barns and they're not allowed access, or they're put in cages. I mean, the horrible way we treat animals it's truly horrifying. But on a biochemical level, what can happen is we have omega-6s, which are inflammatory, pro-inflammatory, and we have omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory. So say a cow, for instance, raised on grass, has a natural omega-3, omega-6 balance. Once it's taken off grass, then that balance, it goes more pro-inflammatory and less anti-inflammatory. And so what happens, so we're getting all of these pro-inflammatory cytokines, we're eating essentially obesity and inflammation in these animals, okay? So we need good, healthy fats in order to create health in us and in order to create good, healthy babies. Grains, grains are a tough one. Some people can handle grains, some people can't. I will always say stay away from gluten. Gluten is inflammatory no matter what, at least here in the United States, okay? Or if you have an heirloom grain, maybe for some that's okay. Or if you go to Europe, all they have, as far as I know, are heirloom grains. And so those grains are, the gluten content is way, way lower. And so we are much better able to, or it just doesn't create as much inflammation as those with super high grains. Don't want to get too deep into that because that's a whole other conversation. But grains for some can be a problem. They can contain gluten, phytates, lectins. These things can create a lot of problems for some people. So it could be for you that grains you just may stay away from. If you're dealing with an autoimmune condition, you probably want to stay away from all grains. But the inflammatory process of many of these grains can increase cortisol, and it can increase estrogen. And so we want balance. And so cortisol is a stress hormone, and we don't want high cortisol. We want a moderate amount of cortisol. We need normal levels of cortisol, okay? Okay, we all know sugar, refined sugar, is a huge, huge problem. It's inflammatory. There's no nutrient density to it. It doesn't give us anything. Brown sugar, so coconut sugar. So I would say coconut sugar is better, but it's still sugar, okay? So we want to be super aware of what we're putting into our body. If you're eating fruit, fruit is better. So we have fiber, we have antioxidants, we have vitamins and nutrients that are within this fruit that allows us to utilize the sugar properly. But if you're someone already dealing with blood sugar issues, keeping your fruit to a minimum is going to be the best idea for you. Okay, so again, knowing your body, knowing what you need is really, really important for all health conditions, right? We all know alcohol. Alcohol is a problem. There's nothing good about alcohol. Although we enjoy it, I enjoy it. Wine, I don't care who tells you that wine is healthy, go eat some grape skins. I do a resveratrol supplement all the time, and I love it, but I certainly will do a supplement over telling somebody to go drink wine. It's hard on the liver. And it's inflammatory, and there's just really nothing good about it. So certainly in moderation, and if you're trying to get pregnant, you know, maybe it just needs to be cut out entirely. Maybe not, but could be. Caffeine, I'm super on the fence with caffeine. I think caffeine for some people is a problem, especially genetically. Some people don't have the ability to process caffeine properly. I don't know if it's really a problem for everybody, though. I'm not a coffee Nazi. I think good organic coffee is fine. It's when you start to depend on it that it is potentially a problem. So, you know, if you need it at noon or 2 o'clock to stay awake because you can't stay awake, then, you know, there's some other things to deal with. But it's really more of kind of a diagnostic tool than anything else. But if you're drinking good organic coffee, maybe minimize it if you're trying to get pregnant. Minimize it if you or eliminate it if you are pregnant. But, you know, coffee can be fine. Okay, so this is a gluten-free pancake. I want you to know. So let's talk about some great ways of starting the day, some, you know, good breakfast foods, and on the next one I'm going to have some recipes for you. So again, for all of you who are involved in this webinar, I'm going to send this out to you so you will have all of this information for when you need it. But eating well, you know, berries, they're pretty low in sugar. They're, you know, berries are just the best thing ever as far as I'm concerned. And so, oopsie. Getting a good, healthy breakfast for those who need it. So I will say that I think intermittent fasting is a good idea. For women, though, I think intermittent fasting for a few days on and a few days off is a better idea. A lot of times when we're dealing with fertility issues, it's a problem with the thyroid. Not always, but if you are seeing a fertility doc, usually the first thing they do is check your thyroid. Now, when I'm checking the thyroid, I'm looking at, you know, 9 or 10 markers, including 2 antibody markers to see if it's a autoimmune situation that we're dealing with. But the thyroid is really, really important. And if the thyroid is off, it can really create problems for getting pregnant. So back to intermittent fasting, I think it's a good idea. I do it myself, but I don't do it every day. I think for women, we probably should not do it every day. But periodically, I think it's fine. I tend to do it during the week, and then on the weekend I don't. That's what I do. Okay, so this website, Natural Fertility, is a pretty good website for some good recipes and some good ideas. There were some things on there that I didn't totally love when it comes to, let's see, I'll go ahead and go over here. When it comes to, you know, eating good, you know, healthy foods, and, you know, it had some dairy and anyway, there were some things that I just didn't really love. But this mushroom and herb omelet, I thought was great. A good fertility smoothie was fun. The paleo pancakes. Paleo pancakes are amazing. They're so good. And so those are some great ones. But so you can go to this deliciousmeatshealthy.com. They've got some really good recipes. And then the Natural Fertility Info, their recipes are good as well. And then we have some lunch recipes. And so this is a website that I really liked, and it is called Natural Fertility and Wellness. They had some really great recipes, and I believe they're everything that I believe in. All of their meats are pastured. They're talking butter and ghee, pastured butter and ghee, good healthy fats, all of the things that I think are really important to a really good healthy diet. Or lifestyle. I don't like the word diet, but a good, healthy lifestyle. I also want to throw out there that although a lot of this stuff is paleo, paleo is essentially a lifestyle. So paleo for me is not about high protein, high fat, because that's not the important part. That depends on who you are, depends on your genetics as to how much protein, how much carb, how much fat that your body needs, okay? So not everybody's the same, but what's important with the paleo lifestyle is good, healthy pastured meats, good, healthy fats, no processed foods, no sugars, no grains. Not that everybody needs to stay away from grains, but you know, a lot of people do. And so it is a really great way of living a good, healthy lifestyle. If you have an autoimmune condition, I think paleo is probably really important for you. Knowing though how much fat that you need, because not everybody needs high fat and some need a little bit lower fat. So okay, moving on. These were great. I want to make this cabbage meatball soup. I think it looks amazing, by the way. That looks like a good one. All right, lunch recipes. Oh, sorry, I didn't move forward. Have my notes, but I didn't move forward. So the creamy broccoli salad looks amazing. They all look amazing to me. So again, you'll get this. So this Natural Fertility and Wellness, great website. And then fertility boosting dinners. A lot of the same stuff, you know, just a few recipes. Yes, this is gluten-free pasta, okay? Avocados, great, nice fatty food. So really healthy. Don't be afraid of fat, okay? All right, here are your recipes. I love butternut squash soup. I do a lot of butternut squash soup. All right. Okay, stress. Stress is a massive factor in health, period. Big thing to know about stress shrinks the brain. And so if we are sitting at this place where we're chronically stressed and our cortisol levels remain high, not only are we having a problem, you know, getting pregnant, carrying pregnancy, but we're damaging our brain, we're damaging our body, our cells. We cannot handle high stress. So going back to fertility, you know, whether stress is causing infertility or is the infertility causing stress or both, right? I mean, it's a little bit of both. We need to take it back a step and learn to just to be calm, okay? And it takes work and it takes time and it's not easy, but learn to meditate, learn to calm the body, because the biochemical changes that meditation makes in the body are truly amazing. Okay, so a few other things that we can do to reduce stress. So in a partnership, you know, there can be lots of stresses going on, not only with just trying to get pregnant, but with life and other kids and, you know, families and that kind of thing. So keeping an open line of communication with your partner is really important. Talk, don't hold stuff in. Those are, I think, some of the most important things, because the more we hold it in, I know this is the way I am, the more I hold it in, the more I just seethe over things, and it's not good, and it doesn't help, and it doesn't help my brain. So if you need, you know, emotional support, get emotional support. Counseling is awesome, whether it's by yourself, but if you're trying to get pregnant, I would say both of you together. This is a partnership. One person is not getting pregnant. You are both getting pregnant. So this is a partnership. Work together, do counseling, support groups, you know, books, whatever it is that you need to do to work together and to support each other. Meditation, yoga, acupuncture. Acupuncture is amazing for stress reduction, for pain reduction. Exercise. So we talked a little bit already about exercise. Exercise is really, really important, but not too much and not too little. They're saying that sitting is the next smoking, and I believe it. I sit more than I should. But, you know, sitting too much, not getting out in the sun and taking a walk is just as damaging as, you know, doing the 150-mile race at 14,000 feet. I just don't know how people do that. It's just beyond me. Okay, let's see, educate yourself. Educating yourself, just like with this webinar, educating yourself and taking accountability and learning what you can do. All of these are really important for one, taking the stress off, but then knowing that there's a plan. When there's a plan and you have it written out, just like in life, you know, goals and that kind of thing, you write them out, you have a plan, it takes something off of your shoulders, essentially. So having a plan is really important. Okay, so I'm not going to get too deep into the relieving stress. This is, let's see. All right, so what I didn't do, so in my notes, I have different types of breathing. I'm going to add this to, I need to add this to the video itself because you can't see it, but there are different ways of relieving stress with breath. And so there's pursed lip breathing. And so you breathe in for 2 counts, you puck your lips, and you exhale for 4 counts, and you do this for a couple of rounds. Okay, so then there's diaphragmatic breathing, there's yoga breathing. If you go to yoga, which is one of the best things in the world, 4-7-8 breathing and breath counting. Again, I'll post this because it's too hard to talk about it. You need to see it. You need to have the directions. As far as I'm concerned, that's how I am. And so I'll post this so you have it. Okay. Exercise. So a couple of things that, you know, we've talked about yoga. We've talked about too much training, but not enough training is also bad. So things that are really great is the HIIT training, the high intensity interval training. You can also call it burst training. There's weight training. But so you are working your muscles, you're working your cardiovascular system. These are great for the body, but they're also stress reducers. They, you know, get blood to all parts of the body and to the brain, and they help create little babies. So keeping that in mind that we have to move. So let's see. This is one that I wanted to, so Yoga for Fertility. This is a website that is a yoga flow for fertility. And I thought that this would be a great thing for some of you if you're wanting to do it at home and you have a goal of getting pregnant. I think that this is a great video for you to follow along with. Sleep. We have so much trouble getting sleep. And if we don't sleep, our stress levels go up. Our body doesn't rest. We don't get into REM sleep. Sleep is really, really important. If you're not sleeping, figure out why. Go see someone. Get the rest that you need. Sleep it influences the hormones. It influences the women's cycle and ovulation. We have to get good sleep. We have to turn off the TVs. We've got to turn off the computers. The blue light in the computers and the TVs are stimulating, and we I think it's an hour before bed. I try to do it even before that. There are also glasses. There are glasses you can go to, I think it's through wellnessmama.com. There are these glasses that are blue light blocking glasses that you can put on before you go to bed. That can be really beneficial for you. So create a routine, have a consistent bedtime, and you know, don't take your computer to bed. I think that's a real mistake for a lot of people, and can just get the mind working, and then you don't sleep very well. Okay. Essential oils, gosh, some of the best things in the world. I'm not great with them. I love them and I use them, but it's not something that I know a lot about. I know a lot of people who do. So if you have questions about it, I am working on incorporating it a little more into my own practice. but I know people who just know these things inside and out. And I've seen pretty amazing results with people that use essential oils for all kinds of different things. One example, there was a woman who was dealing with some pretty intense menopausal issues, and she did a machine that told her, which is insane to me, but she did this little machine where she held on to something and it told her what she needed, what essential oil she needed. And the next day her symptoms were gone, or maybe it was 2 days. I don't know what it was, but it was really fast that she was using this essential oil, and her symptoms, her menopausal symptoms, were gone. I was floored. So pretty cool stuff. But there are some great fertility boosting essential oils. Geranium. I love geranium. It's the one that I put in my dryer instead of dryer sheets. I'll put some drops of geranium in my dryer, and it just smells amazing. So it's a really good one. It stimulates the adrenal cortex, and it's a uterine and ovarian tonic. Clary sage is another one, helpful for relieving feminine problems, stress, depression, anxiety, and they say it imitates estrogen. Lavender, we all know and love lavender. It's great stuff, but it calms and relaxes the mind. I tend to take lavender and I'll put it on our pillows at night. I love it. And it can help people who are in an unbalanced emotional state. And then fennel, love fennel too. So it has effects on the female reproductive system. It can help regulate the menstrual cycle, and it can help with scanty and painful periods. So you can use these in so many different ways. I love the different ways you can use essential oils, whether it's just putting them on your body. You can put them, not all of them. You want a good quality if you're putting it, in your mouth and using them this way. But some of them you can use internally, but you can use a diffuser. I try to always have my diffusers going. You can use them in the bath as an air freshener. So you can put them in a spray bottle, a foot massage, and direct inhalation. Again, do not just go to a random store and buy some essential oils and start using them internally, because some can be internal, some can't, but they must be a high quality. As far as I know, the ones at the stores, everyone at the store, they all say not to be used internally. So there are only a couple of good ones that I know of, and this isn't my specialty, but being super aware is really important, so you don't end up doing more harm than good. All right, supplementation. Here's where we get into some of the fun stuff, because there are a couple of things that I think are misunderstood about supplementation. And we want to be able to get our foods and all of our nutrients from our food, but do we? Not a lot of times, especially if we're not eating organic, because the soil has been scraped. It's unfortunate, because our food is not the way that it used to be. It's not as nutrient dense. If it's being shipped from across the country or outside of the country, then it's being picked early. So it doesn't even have all the nutrients in it that it's supposed to have. And then on top of that, the soil has been depleted. So it's a shame, but this is another reason why organic is important. Organic and really sustainable, it's sort of I sort of love and hate that word all at the same time, but if you're practicing good, organic, sustainable practices, you're putting the nutrients back into the earth. There's a normal, natural cycle of the earth to help it build its own soil. And we need to allow that to happen in order to have good, healthy, nutrient-dense food. And conventional practices aren't doing that, okay? So let's see, a couple of things. So we were talking about earlier, we were talking about fat-soluble nutrients, which are A, D, and K. A, D, E, and K. All really important. All of them, we have to have that in order to utilize them. There is the potential of them building up in the body because they can be stored in fat cells. Not that that's a bad thing. You don't want to be afraid of them, but it's important to know where your levels are when you supplement. D, though, super important, is shown to be a hormone more than it is a vitamin. So we still call it vitamin D, but it's got so many, it does so much in the body that we're now considering it a hormone. And so if we have inadequate levels of vitamin D, we have infertility, we have miscarriages, And so always, always, always test. I actually have 2 different tests. I do an intracellular as well as a serum test for vitamin D, so I can get a good view on what your D looks like. And we want good, healthy levels. 30, if you go and you're at 30 and your doctor says you're fine, it's wrong. I want to see levels, depending on health status, from 60 to 100, okay? 30 is incredibly insufficient. And if you're below 30, then obviously it's even worse. But keep that in mind. 60, probably 70 to 100 is going to be optimal for vitamin D. The higher, if you have autoimmune disease, you want it to be higher, closer to that 100 point, okay? Vitamin C. So that's it's an antioxidant. It helps to, it's also a water-soluble nutrient, but it helps to recirculate other antioxidants. Same with vitamin E, same thing. So it's a really important one. It's really important for male and female fertility. And you want to aim for probably 2,000 milligrams a day or so, being that it's water soluble. It's difficult to get too much because you'll just urinate it out. But if you do get too much, it actually will it will pull water into the bowels, so you will have runny stools. So the possibility is there, but it takes a lot. So know that if you start taking vitamin C and that happens, the possibility is there. Okay, here's the one that I really, really want to talk about. And we were talking earlier about getting folate from good, healthy greens. We hear constantly that folic acid is what we need for pregnancy, as well as for, during pregnancy. Folic acid is not a natural nutrient. Folic acid is synthetic. Folic acid can create a whole host of problems with certain people with certain epigenetic markers, for lack of a better word. What can happen with folic acid is the body can take up so much, but then it doesn't allow any more uptake. So folate tries to come in and do its job, and it doesn't allow for it. And then we get this overload, and it creates all kinds of nasty issues. Folic acid is a nasty, dangerous thing. It's in so many of our multivitamins. It's in prescription prenatal vitamins, okay? Stay away from folic acid. I can't say it enough. Stay away from folic acid. Folate. You can get folate in good healthy vitamins. Okay, there are at least 3 different forms of folate, which can also makes it difficult because certain people need other forms of folate, but never folic acid. Folinic acid is also good. Folinic acid is a good form of folate. So just be aware of that. Don't fall for folic acid. If you're looking at your regular vitamins and you see cyanocobalamin, it's a form of B12, that doesn't do you any good either. Stay away from cyanocobalamin. You want a good, healthy methylcobalamin, just as a side note. Zinc. Zinc is important for cell division, including sperm production and ovulation. And it's important to have zinc along with your B vitamins. B vitamins, for the most part, need to be taken as a family, essentially. So you have your B complex vitamins. Taking B vitamins away from other B vitamins can create a lot of can create problems because they work synergistically together. So B vitamins need to work together, and then if you need additional on top of that, then that's totally fine. So you do B complex vitamin and add extra B12, or you add extra folate, whatever your body needs, which is, we do testing to understand that. But it's important to do them together. At least, there are times when we can do them separately, but a whole other topic. Just if you're going out and doing it yourself, get a B complex or a multi with all the B complex, not just a couple of them. All right, zinc is great because it's a good antioxidant. Selenium is an antioxidant. It's also important for the thyroid. It is important. It protects the sperm and the egg, and it can potentially help prevent miscarriage. All right, let's move on to acupuncture, I hit on that a little bit. Acupuncture is great for stress management, for improved blood circulation, for enhanced follicle development. It relaxes the cervix. It can improve the fertile mucus. It can regulate ovulation, improve the endometrial lining, and it's just great stuff. I have an acupuncturist that I refer to on a regular basis. She's amazing. So acupuncture and Chinese medicine, for if you have a good practitioner, is a great thing to do. So bone broth. I love bone broth, but I don't love it for everybody. Bone broth is great. It can help with gut repair. It can help, it's full of collagen and glutamine and all of these amazing things that are great for the body. But for some people, glutamine can be an issue, and it's really high in glutamine. So, you know, it's just like with anything. Not everything's great for everybody, and not everything's not great for everybody. It's just important to know your body, know who you are and what you need. If you start eating bone broth and you find that you're getting more anxious, and then it could be that bone broth is not for you. So pay attention to things like that, because what happens, glutamine's converted in the body, excuse me, glutamine's converted into glutamate. Glutamate is supposed to convert into GABA. So glutamate is excitatory, GABA is calming, and so that's what we want. But if we have certain epigenetic mutations, again, for lack of a better word, what can happen is glutamate gets stuck, and so you stay in this excitatory space instead of it moving into GABA. So just pay attention to that, okay? So pay attention to if you start to feel more anxious, if you're doing a lot of bone broth, you might want to back off of it a little bit and make your own. Go to wellnessmama.com. Or you can go to Dr. Axe, and they have some really good bone broth recipes. Where I learned to make mine was Wellness Mama. I'm going to give you a couple of tips that are really super simple, and maybe you thought about it, maybe you haven't. But anytime I cut up vegetables, and say like cauliflower, and you have the butt of the cauliflower that you don't eat, but it's still good and healthy and nutrient dense, freeze it. All of the leaves, the stems of broccoli, all of the leftover cuttings that you're just going to throw away, freeze them, get your bones, put it in with good filtered healthy water, and put all of those extra vegetables that you were just going to throw away, put those into your bone broth, put them into your pot. That way you can get all of the great minerals from the vegetables. You won't get much of the vitamins, they're destroyed by heat, but you'll get the good minerals from the vegetables, from the bone. You want to add some apple cider vinegar to help leach the calcium or the minerals from the bone, and fill that bone broth with great, amazing collagen and lots of good, healthy minerals. Okay? All right. So we covered a lot. I hope that this was all that you hoped for. If you have any questions, the question is, my little Q&A section over here is open. Feel free to ask me any questions. Feel free to reach out to me for any questions that you might have. If there's something that I didn't cover, I can do it again. I know I'm doing another pregnancy webinar, I believe in July. But if you have questions about anything, if there's anything at all that you need, whether it's fertility or otherwise, let me know. I'm here to do whatever I can to support any of you in any way that I can. And there is, I do have listed here, again, it's in my notes, all of the resources that I use, so I'll post those as well. Any questions? Let's see. And then again, thank you. So what you can do, if you like, you can go to my website and you can fill out a free assessment. This assessment is part of a larger analysis that I typically that I always do for my new clients who are coming in. And this is like the first step to understanding where the problems might be, if there are any problems, helps me to see, kind of get a little mini look into your body, to help, me to understand, and then we can kind of go from there and see what next steps might be. But take the online assessment. I would love to chat with you a little bit about any of the questions that you have regarding the assessment or anything else. And so far, no questions. I hope that means that I did well. So everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day. Let me know if there's anything that you need, and we'll talk to you later on. Thanks, guys.